Now for something a little bit more normal than what I've been posting. So this is an evolution, a Dust Care evolution, which bears a very, very striking resemblance to this old Bernina 6700 I used to have. Yeah, very, very similar, except for the tool setup. You know, you can see on the Bernina that the hose comes down to the base, as to where on here we have more of a Panasonic style hose setup. And something interesting about this is I thought this was an extension wand, but it turns out it's actually like a fan-powered dusting tool. So, let me turn on the light. Okay. So, it's got a fan attached to this. So, you know, the incoming air is supposed to rotate this around. And while it does rotate, the problem is it's got next to no torque. So, anytime you put it down to a surface, it just stops. And I mean, it spins freely. It's just so poorly designed. Oh yes, and it has a... Whoops. I guess, because I pulled this apart to clean it, but I was going to show you guys that it pivots a little bit. I guess I pivoted it the wrong way, but, you know, I can always reseal that a little bit later with some new silicone. But yeah, that was kind of disappointing, because I'm like, oh, look, you know, another wand, so I'll have additional reach, but nope, it's this stupid dusting tool. And then it has a magnet right here, and that's supposed to prevent any sort of debris that could puncture the bag from getting into the bag. And then surprisingly, this is 1.25 inches. I always figured it would be kind of like a Panasonic, you know, where the tools insert into the ends, because that's what it does here. But well, strangely, they put 1.25 inch end on it, which probably limits its power somewhat. Bag indicator light on top of here. We got a speed control. I put a Kenmore bag into here because it's the most similar thing I had on hand. I believe this filter's charcoal. And then down here we have a kind of an electrostatic filter beyond this grate. You would just flip this, and then you'd be able to pull the grate off in order to access that filter. And we have a brush roll control on here, which the brush roll assembly has 2 pulleys on it. Let me show you guys. Alright, so here we have the brush roll setup. As you can see, there's a divide between these two. So this is an idler pulley. So when you have it on the hard floor mode or in the upright position, there's a little track down here that moves either, you know, to the side or to the right or to the left, depending on where you have the lever. And then when you have it in the upright position too, it pushes the belt over onto this idler assembly, so it just spins on there and doesn't drive the brush. Now, I actually have the wrong size belt on here. I tried to trim it down just a little bit to ensure that it wasn't touching the brush roll pulley, but it doesn't work quite right because it's still a little bit thick, but it's not that huge a deal. And then we have a 3-row brush on here, which kind of reminds me of the Panasonic Triforce. Although I can't remember if the Panasonic ones were just a single long brush strip or if they were divided like these. But yeah. And these machines seem quite similar to Cirrus, aside from a few differences. This one probably being closest to the CR99, because it has a, you know, twin fan motor in it. The biggest difference I can see is that the CR99 has a filter on the side of the machine and exhaust from there versus this on the front. And of course, with that exhausting from the side, it also has room for a HEPA filter. So now with a look at the machine completed, why don't we move on to the testing. just for fun, let's turn it down. So strange. It seems like rarely do I ever see a 12 amp machine that actually pulls around 12 amps. But whatever. Alright, so we've got this attached to the hose. Let's take the airflow measurement. Now for the suction. But now let's take the airflow at the end of this wand. Still kind of a drop, considering how little distance is traveled. We've clearly lost a little bit of suction. I guess the brush roll doesn't want to shut off for me, so we're only going to do this with the brush roll on. Try this again. Alright, and our usual debris pickup. Got some decent agitation from it. And of course, a pretty clean sweep with it having the 3-row brush. Although it has a weird grooming pattern. And the belt side pickup, not so great. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. But, you know, it's a machine I like. I mean, it certainly doesn't have, you know, a huge amount of features by modern standards, you know. Well, maybe not, because I mean, you know, we do have the brush roll control. We got a speed control. That's a lot more than most, at least the lower end machines come with, and heck, some higher end ones don't even have that. So, I don't know. I think it's a pretty decent machine. It's kind of a shame they discontinued him, but I mean, ultimately the design kind of lives on through Cirrus.